Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, very nice.
Okay. All right.
Loud and clear. So we were thinking that we should probably start with overview of the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita. What do you think?
Okay, that would be great. That'll be great.
Yeah, so all of
Okay.
you went through the first module, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now let's then discuss for a while, shortly, of course, what just happened in the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita. So in the beginning of Bhagavad-gita, we have situation where Arjuna, the main warrior of the Pandavas, he doesn't want to fight because he became depressed, because he had to fight with his relatives, and he refused to fight due to this family attachment. So this is the beginning.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then this is the first chapter. Then in the beginning of the second chapter, Arjuna, he gives, although he gives many different lofty arguments why he shouldn't fight, he realizes that in spite of his exalted considerations, quoting Shastra, he cannot actually drive away his depression on his own. And then realizing this as a sincere devotee, he surrenders to Krishna and requests him to become his guru. This is a very crucial moment of Bhagavad Gita. There is this famous verse, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. Now I'm your disciple. Now all the friendly talks are over. Now please instruct me. Because between friends, when they are equals, it is hard to establish the Siddhanta, the philosophical conclusion, because your friend, he's your equal. Whatever you say, he can take it lightly, he can oppose you, he can say, well, what's the matter with you? You're talking nonsense. That's not true. But with the guru, you cannot possibly do this anymore. Therefore, you accept the guru. So from this moment on, the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna shifts from friendship to, of course, they are eternal friends, but Krishna accepts the role of Arjuna's guru. And in order to remove Arjuna's illusion, Krishna explains the eternal nature of the soul, because this was the reason for Arjuna's depression. He thought that he will lose now all of his family members in this fratricidal war. And Krishna explained to him, the soul is eternal. Nasato vidite bhavo nabhavo vidite sata ubayar api drishtantas tvanyos tattvadarshibhi. In the eternal, there is no change, and in the non-eternal, in the matter, there is no endurance. So therefore, the great souls, they have concluded this by studying the nature of both chit, achit, matter and spirit. So therefore, Arjuna should not lament. These are the first instructions in the beginning of the second chapter. You remember all this?
Yes. Overall, yes. Mm-hmm.
So,
well. Okay.
Arjuna should not feel miserable for his relatives, because nobody ever dies. Nobody will die. Not Faivaham Jatuna Sam, not Pamnime Janadipa, not Chaiva Nabhishema Sarvavayata Param. Neither you nor me, Krishna says, nor all these kings, none of us will cease to exist. Neither nor any of us neither of us was non-existent before, neither now, nor in future any of us will cease to exist. So since Krishna sees that he observes Arjuna and he sees that Arjuna's depression doesn't go away simply by this knowledge.
Mhm.
The next thing Krishna says is he gives the method by which this knowledge that the soul is eternal can be realized. Sometimes, if you have first-class intelligence, it is enough just to hear from the guru, and then you accept and you realize the knowledge. But if you have second-class intelligence, then you have to try in your own life, and then you learn by experience. So Arjuna, he could not immediately realize this knowledge. Of course, we know that he takes the role of a conditioned soul, etc. So therefore, Krishna gave him the process by which this knowledge can be realized. So which process is this?
The process.
So Arjuna was depressed in the beginning. Then Krishna told him, you should not be depressed. Nobody will die here. Nobody dies ever. Then Arjuna,
I think the process. I'm sorry.
accepted this, but his depression was still there. It was not dispelled by these words of Krishna. So then Krishna gave him a process or method, practical method by which this can be real. He can realize this, that he is a soul and everybody else is also soul and nobody will die. So the question is, which process is this? Yeah, this is the knowledge that Krishna gave. Right. But although Krishna, yes, very good. But although Krishna spoke this, Arjuna's depression was still there. So then what did Krishna do? Yeah, somebody said something here. Sorry, I didn't.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
I was just thinking or remembering that whatever he does to do his duty, but to do it for Krishna, not to do it, just do it, not to get anything or look for anything fruitive, to just do his duty and fight, but do it for Krishna. Do it for him. Do what Krishna is asking him to do, and then he won't incur any all the things that he believed that he would be doing if he did it otherwise.
Yes, very good.
Yes.
So this is called this process is called Naishkarma or Nishkama Karma Yoga. That means working according to the duty, without desire for the results. Yes, without attachment.
Yes.
According to the instructions of Shastra. And the result is for somebody else, ideally for Krishna.
The result would be for Krishna.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so this is the process that Krishna recommended to Arjuna in order Arjuna to realize this spiritual knowledge. So this is and then at the end of this second chapter, Krishna explains what will be the result if Arjuna applies properly this process in his life. What will be the result? And the result will be, Krishna described the characteristics, the symptoms of a self-realized person. Somebody who heard the knowledge, applied, and got the result. So that's the second chapter. Okay. The first symptom Krishna explained. Prajahat yada kaman sarvam partamanogatan atmani evatmana tushtas tasya praga pratisita was a different verse. Okay. The main symptom of a self-realized soul is that he has given up all desires for sense gratification, independent of Krishna, which are born out of Prajahat yada kaman sarvam parta manogatan. They are born of mental speculation. And atmani evatmana tushtas, and then he takes pleasure only in the self. the pleasure, the happiness in his life comes only by performance of devotional service. That's all he needs. He doesn't need something extraneous to the process of bhakti. He doesn't need to, okay, he chants his rounds, then he goes to the morning program.
Okay.
And then he takes prasadam, and then he has to watch some movie, you know, because he needs to do something, you know. Okay, he has done his sadhana, and now it's time for
Relaxation.
to relax. He doesn't need that.
No.
The end of second chapter. And then in the beginning of third chapter, Arjuna is confused again because he misunderstood that acquiring transcendental knowledge is incompatible with work. This is the main tension in these first 6 chapters. Arjuna again and again fails to understand that in order to acquire transcendental knowledge, doesn't need you don't have to stop working. So that's the main thing. He thinks, well, if I want to become spiritual, I should quit all so-called material duties. Should just retire in a lonely place, in a holy place, and just study the books, the holy scriptures, and sustain myself by begging. That's his idea of spirituality. So he doesn't understand how he can combine knowledge and work. He thinks they're incompatible.
Well, karma yoga.
Okay.
Do the yoga, not karma, just karma kanda.
Yeah.
Do the karma yoga connection with Krishna, Lord Krishna. Yoga means the connection with Lord Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji says that this is called karma yoga. It's not just karma, because I guess you couldn't hear him, right? So I will repeat what he said. Okay. Prabhuji said that it's not just karma, kanda, but it is karma yoga because you work, but according to authority, and you connect your work to Krishna for his pleasure. Okay, so this is the Arjuna's confusion. And to dispel this confusion and mistake, Krishna again explains what he explained already in second chapter, Naishkarmya, or karma yoga, or buddhi yoga. These are synonyms of the same thing, which is work combined with knowledge. We're working, but according to the rules of Shastra, being conscious that we are spirit soul, that we are part and parcel of Krishna, and we are working with without attachment to the result.
Okay.
So even great self-realized persons perform this karma yoga, Naishkarmya, Nishkama karma yoga, Naishkarmya. They perform it, although they are self-realized, and they technically they don't need to perform these duties, but they do it. Why? In order to set a good example for the common people. Then at the end of the third chapter, Krishna emphasizes that in order to perform Naishkarmya steadily, one should conquer lust, because lust is the enemy of the soul. Arjuna asks a famous question: what is this force which forces me to do sinful activities, even against my own will? And then Krishna explains, Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajaguna Samudbhava Mahashanu Mahapapma Vidi Enam Iha Vairinam. This is the greatest, the great enemy of the soul. The soul called Gyani a little later in third chapter. Gyani means the knower. So the greatest enemy is the Mr. Lust. Gyanam Vigyanam Nashanam. Lust destroys knowledge and realization. And in order to perform Naishkarmya steadily, one should conquer lust, and this overcome material dualities, material desires. Such detached work, Naishkarmya, is by itself sacrifice, and this is the means of attaining transcendental knowledge. So this is another very important idea Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gita in these first 6 chapters. Usually we think that in order to acquire knowledge, you have to study the books of knowledge. That's how you become knowledgeable, by reading books or by listening from somebody who is knowledgeable. Krishna here, he explains that just by proper work, the knowledge will be self-manifested in the heart. So, I mean, it's not bad to study the books of knowledge. If you can do it, this is fine. But just by detached work, by Naishkarmya, you will get transcendental knowledge.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
And then in the 4th chapter, which is called Transcendental Knowledge, Krishna glorifies this transcendental knowledge as the goal of all different types of sacrifices. And Krishna gives the essence of this knowledge. First, he explains how this knowledge is received through the disciplic succession. And then he explains the essence of transcendental knowledge, which is himself, Krishna himself. He's the origin and essence of all knowledge. So Krishna explains the transcendental nature of his appearance, of his activities. And then he explains the different indirect methods or ways to acquire such transcendental knowledge. If you remember, what were those methods? You remember something? There were different methods there described. Different sacrifices.
Oh, sacrifices. Acquiring.
The brahmacharis, they sacrifice.
Whoever answers first to this question will get a Mahasweet Sandesh.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I don't remember all, but I think for brahmachari, study is the study. There was comparison that there is ghee, there is fire, and I think for brahmachari, studies is the fire. There are 5 things they were saying to do a sacrifice. But anyway, the for brahmacharis is studies, for dasa, what was that? No, not charity.
So the brahmachari sacrifices his hearing process because he is supposed to hear only spiritual sound. So this is his sacrifice. And the grihastas, they sacrifice the objects of the senses because they're supposed to connect everything to Krishna. Nothing is for their own
Sense gratification,
etc. There were different examples also. The yogis, they sacrifice the breathing process. So different people do different sacrifices in order to attain something that they want to attain.
Spiritual knowledge.
Spiritual knowledge, spiritual advancement, even material advancement. So the sacrifice is, you can say, is the Vedic technology. This is how you attain things in the Vedic context, by performing sacrifices. This is how you move forward. So Krishna describes different types of sacrifices, and then he concludes that the highest type of sacrifice is in transcendental knowledge. When you are conscious about the ultimate goal. If you just sacrifice material possessions in order to attain material advancement, this is also sacrifice, but it's inferior type of sacrifice because you're not conscious about the goal, the real goal of life. And then in the famous 34th verse of this chapter, Krishna gives the shortcut how you can attain the ultimate result of all sacrifices without going through all these indirect methods from a self-realized soul, from a guru. Tad vidi prapatane pariprashnena sevaya upatikshenti teginam jnanastat padarshinaha. Yes, so we approach a self-realized person, pure devotee, and by his mercy, we get the shortcut which will save us millions of lifetimes going through this gradual process of spiritual advancement through following brahmacharya, grihasta, yoga, karma, jnana, all these very nice Vedic processes, but they take time. In order to save time, we just surrender to the pure devotee, and then he teaches us the ultimate conclusion of the Vedas, which is pure devotional service. Then the result of this will be Yaj Gatvana Punar Muham Evam. What was this? Evam Yasyasi Pandava.
Yena Bhutani
Sheshkani,
Drakshati
Atmana Tomai. So the result of approaching a guru, learning from him, serving him, will be that we will never again be in illusion, because we will see that all living entities are parts of Krishna, and they belong to him, and we also.
Okay.
Okay, so by the mercy of the Guru, we understand soul and matter, and the source of both, which is the Krishna, the Lord. So this is the fourth chapter. But then in the beginning of fifth chapter, Arjuna is again confused, because he did not understand that work in full knowledge doesn't bring any reaction. He still thinks that if I work, then there should be some material reaction. So then he again asks, so why? Well, this was the third chapter. Why you engage me in this ghastly warfare? Okay. In fifth chapter, he asks
Same question.
Similar question. He asks, which is more beneficial? Work in knowledge, Naishkarmya, what Krishna was explaining all this, or renunciation of work? Renunciation of work meaning just retiring from material life and just meditating, or living by begging, all this, living like a mendicant somewhere in a holy place. So Krishna then explains that though they are equal, these two processes, Naishkarmya, or working in knowledge, is better actually, because it is more natural and easier, because we are anyway inclined to be active with our senses. So instead of prematurely renouncing everything, taking sannyas at an early age, for example, while one still has so many desires, and then you take sannyas, and then in few years you realize that, oh, I made a big mistake. I have so many desires. I want this and that and the other thing. So what I'm going to do now? So instead of running this risk, Krishna says, better you engage in your natural occupational duties, but with knowledge and detachment. This is better. Although they're both bona fide processes for spiritual advancement, the detached work is better because it's safer and it's more natural. One can renounce work only after sufficient purification, only when he's really pure. And even if somebody's on this level, usually the great advanced devotees, they don't do it, because again they want to set a good example for the common man, so they perform their duties inside the varnashrama society, human society. Okay, makes any sense so far? These were the first 5.
The last thing that you just said about societies, I didn't get that. I don't know if I didn't really get that. Just the very last.
So the great devotees, although they might be very advanced, they don't need to perform any more so-called material duties. Usually they keep performing them in order to give good example to the people, to the common people in the society. I mean, I was
okay.
for national society, but any society.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
So, Arjuna was suggested by Lord Krishna, like working, whatever you do, what is it, duty, prescribed duty, do that. And like instead of getting in like sannyasa, but like you
Sannyas, okay.
Yeah, renunciation.
Yes.
Fully renunciation. But there is always chance staying there, doing our prescribed duty every day. Well, because of our illusion and other illusory energy, there is a chance to fall down. Even like a rehearsal, always there is a chance. So we understand, if we surrender to Krishna all our result, we doing karma, result we surrender to Krishna, whatever result, he is the enjoyer, I'm not the enjoyer. So even there, sometimes there is a chance to fall also. Because we are going materially, going to shop, going to job, going to different places. So we have in our mind all the results we lead to Krishna. But in that point, it's very like a very good chance to follow.
It's a fine line, huh?
Fine line, yeah. So how we can get off from this fine line also?
Yes.
Very like ultimately,
Please summarize the question. Summarize the question.
So if I properly understand the question is that we can work for Krishna and we can give all the results from our activities to Krishna, but still somewhere on the way we can fall down. Is it?
Yeah.
Technically, theoretically, always there is a chance to fall down, because this is the constitutional position of the living entity. We are tatasta.
Sri Prabhupada gives the example, even on the royal road, there is always a possibility of accident.
So technically, it is possible, but practically, if we are seriously engaged in service of Krishna, and we are conscious of Him, that we are His servants, and we are trying to give everything that to Him for His pleasure, practically it shouldn't happen. Practically. So basically, if we are, like in one purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, it is not enough to know that you are a soul. You have to act like a soul.
Okay.
You may know theoretically, okay, I'm Krishna's servant, but you don't do anything practically. So it's a question of time that you engage yourself again in some material kind of activities. But if you are practically engaged as a soul, then the chance of falling down is very, very small. Because you're in your right position. Yes. Like for example, if you are a human and if you are living on the land, and if you're on the land, well, practically the chance of what is the word? Yes. Practically the chance to drown is not non-existent because you're not in the water.
Okay.
So in the same way, if the living entity is completely engaged in practical devotional service, the chance to fall down is
Less.
Yes, practically non-existent.
Okay.
But the moment we are not engaged in practical service of Krishna, and we are on an automatic pilot, well, then it's very easy our senses to be attracted to Maya. Is that okay?
Thank you. Yes.
So the question of Vanashram, is it useful to continue doing Vanashram duties? Or should we, or should we only follow in devotional activities? That should be our only prescribed duties, devotional activities. Or is it also useful to perform Vanashram duties?
The question is,
Like working in Grahastha duties.
the question is, do we have to perform our only our direct devotional duties, or we should rather be conscious of our social duties in terms of Varna and Ashrama and perform those as well? Well, our goal is to be directly engaged in devotional service of Krishna 24 hours. This is the goal. However, if we are not on this platform, it's practical and it's safer if we are engaged in duties in the mode of goodness than in the lower modes. And the different duties according to Varna and Ashrama, that's their goal, to keep you in the mode of goodness, and from this position to be able to go to the pure goodness or direct activities of Krishna consciousness. So from this perspective, we should do both on our level of consciousness. And also we can see Bhagavad-gita, yat yata charati shestas tat tattevadaro janaha sayat pramana kurutel lokastat anuvartate. Whatever the great persons are doing, the common people follow. So even if we are on the platform of not doing anything else, very often we can see great personalities. They are again performing their duties, material duties. Why? Just to show to the common people how they should act. So we have many examples of great Vaishnavas, extremely advanced devotees, that they don't have to anymore perform their material duties, but still they are doing it just to show a proper example to the common people. So from this perspective, especially for now, it's good that we know both our material duties, our spiritual duties, and we keep both of them in action, intact.
Yeah, it's like that question of how much should we advise to move into temples and just only take up spiritual activities? Maybe not wise for everything.
For some, it's nice. For most, it's good to come and get some training and then leave and continue with their life. It will be very beneficial. But it won't be possible for everybody. Because, like, for example, some people, they won't agree to follow the 4 evolutive principles or chant 16 rounds. And we have some minimum standard for living in the Hare Krishna temple. So for some people, it won't be possible, but still you can give them some standard of Krishna consciousness to follow in the situation where they are, and they will make a spiritual advancement. So one way or the other, we should try to benefit everybody as they do. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question, a two-part question, and I have another question, but I'll keep it with 2 questions. First of all, isn't like becoming a brahmachari a level of renunciation? Like before sannyasi, isn't that considered? Because in my eyes, I would consider a brahmachari a renounced person. Is that not considered renunciation by the Gita's standards, or am I, right with that way of thinking?
So the question is, if we compare brahmachari with sannyas, is this also a level of renunciation, or it's not considered?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes, thank
you. Brahmachari is simply the first stage of human life. So in this sense, although includes renunciation, it is not considered the level of renunciation, technically known as sannyas. So it's just everybody, all human beings, they have to go through this education. And sannyas is just for special type of persons who are the most qualified. These are the teachers of the whole human society, the sannyasis. But brahmachari is for everybody. Well, except for the Shudras. Shudras don't go. But all higher classes, they have to go. Yeah, they have to go through this training. Otherwise, they cannot be accepted as Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, or Brahmins, especially Brahmins and Kshatriyas, but also Vaishyas.
Okay, and the second part of my question is because, like this prescribed duty thing, it really is hard for me to wrap my head around in the material world, because it's like, say somebody was in a war right now, and would you think that Krishna would have the same conversation with him as far as going to war and
you mean same conversation like with Arjuna?
Yes, and if he's saying, I don't feel like this war is just, or like I would prefer not to fight, let me go and be a Hare Krishna in the temple. So what do you think Krishna would tell him? Oh yeah, stay on the battlefield and continue to fight, or would he tell him to perform the Krishna consciousness? Like,
yeah.
That's the question.
Well, we should keep in mind that this was a
maybe just to repeat the question.
Yeah. Well, the question is, Krishna and Arjuna, they talk on the battlefield, and Krishna is urging Arjuna to fight. If something similar happens now, and let's say somebody now has to fight in a war, what will Krishna say right now? would he encourage him, or he would tell him, well, better leave and go to the Hare Krishna temple and stay there. So this war that Krishna was and Arjuna were fighting was a religious war for, according to Dharma. The goal was to establish the devotees, the Pandavas, to establish them as the rulers of the whole planet. So it was a Krishna's plan, basically. It was not just happening.
And it was meant for the benefit of all people.
Yeah, and it was not just
Selfish motivation.
limited to this planet Earth even. It was a universal battle between the demons and the demigods.
Yeah,
It was,
but the question is prescribed, like if this is someone's prescribed duty to be a warrior, to be a soldier,
yeah, there's a thing.
it can, would this still be devotional? Like if somebody was on the battlefield reading this book, how should?
There's a thing, the Kshatriyas, those which have the prescribed duties to fight, they fight for the proper cause, according to Dharma. And now, at least, I don't see any Dharma in any type of war that is going. At least, personally, I don't see. Maybe somebody can point out what is the Dharmic element there. It's just demons trying to fight. Two types of demons
Make money.
try to fight over the material resources. That's all. So I don't see anything connected to devotion service there. So as much as possible, devotees should avoid taking part in these things because it's not according to Shastra. When you have the devotees and the demons, and then you have to establish the devotees, that's what Krishna did in Kurukshetra, then something else. But now, anyway, so let's try to keep up a little bit with the focus on the Bhakti Shastri course. So 5th chapter and then 6th chapter. You had a question?
No.
Okay. So then the 6th chapter is called Dhyana Yoga, and Krishna there he described how one can attain self-realization by the method of Dhyana Yoga, which means Ashtanga Yoga, which means what is Ashtanga Yoga? The 8-fold process of yoga, which begins with following moral conducts, do's and don'ts. You should be a moral person and you should not act immorally. And then asana, sitting postures, and then pranayama, and then etc. There are 8 levels. So Krishna explains how one can attain samadhi. And the interesting thing is that in this mechanical yoga process, which mechanically pacifies the mind, there the idea is that the mind should be peaceful so that it can be focused on the Paramatma. Therefore, the yogis, they try to live in a solitary place. They don't perform any material activities. They don't bother with learning, earning a livelihood, etc. So in this way, they try to minimize all the distractions of the mind. So the body should be healthy. The yogis, therefore, they are usually healthy. They don't have disease. So this is their method. And the method of Bhakti Yoga is a little different. The method of Bhakti Yoga begins directly from, chanting Hare Krishna, serving the Lord. And there, the idea is that, Hare Krishna, you acquire such a strong spiritual taste that even when these distractions appear, the consciousness is not influenced by them. Different way of advancing towards the ultimate goal. It's better actually. Okay, so some devotees try to combine. They chant Hare Krishna, but they also do some yoga, some pranayama, so that they keep up good health. And this is to some extent bona fide. Bhagavatam explains that if a devotee has at all material desires, this is the only bona fide material desire. To some extent, to have a healthy body, so that you can engage it in devotional service, not for other reasons. But these are 2 different approaches. You understand? One is minimizing the distractions because they're a problem for you. You don't want any botheration. And the other one is you acquire such a strong spiritual taste, so much attraction for Krishna that even when there is some problems, you don't actually pay attention. For you, it's not a problem anymore. Okay. So this is the Dhyana Yoga. And at the end of this chapter, 6th chapter, Krishna explains something very important, which is the introduction to the 7th chapter, to the 2nd module that we're gonna study now. Krishna explains which yogi is the best yogi. So you should know this verse, the Bhakti Shastri students. The last verse of chapter 6. Yoginam api sarvesham.
No, sarvesham, yagna.
Mat gaten atmanaha.
Shradhavam bhajatemam samyuktattamam mataha. So from all types of yogis, the one who, can you read this?
The 6th chapter, right?
47.
7.
47.
The last
what-
verse from 6th
Oh, yeah,
chapter.
yeah, we had to memorize it.
And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
All right, so all types of yogis, the highest type of yogi is the Bhakti yogi. This is the end of 6th chapter. Okay, so this was the overview of the first 6 chapters. So, shall we?
Maybe I can ask something about the first 6 chapters. So, something that if you have to remember something from the first 6 chapters, this is really something practical that you have to remember.
Mhm.
What is the way described there to make a spiritual advancement? What is the process? What is the technique that Krishna is teaching in these first 6 chapters? What we have to do in order to achieve success on the spiritual path?
Do you want me to? But understand. In this 6th chapter, so from the 2nd chapter is like about the starting of the battlefield. So from the 2nd chapter, which is started, Krishna explained, Arjuna wrote.
With 1-2 sentences, what is the process? What is Krishna
Bhakti
giving us
yoga.
as the process?
Bhakti yoga.
So what is Bhakti Yoga practically? How Krishna is describing Bhakti Yoga in these first 6 chapters?
Bhakti yoga means
Krishna is using different terms, Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga. So in different places, he's using different words, but he's speaking about the same thing. So what is this thing?
so
Let him try.
So what you can work your prescribed duty, but do it for Krishna, like as a Krishna consciousness.
Okay,
And-
do your duty, do it for Krishna. Is there something else to it?
Yeah, like, and also don't entangle with the material desire. So which is perfectly Krishna conscious work.
Okay, try to be free from material desires.
Yeah, free from material desire.
And okay, what about the result?
Yeah, Krishna consciousness, when we're talking about, we leave every.
Like, for example, I go and I work and I say, Krishna, it's all for you. And then I get my salary and I go to the shop and I buy everything for myself.
No,
Attachment to the results.
I bring
Huh?
it home and then
Yeah,
I,
that-
Attachment to results.
Detachment result. So this should be also there.
and attachment,
Attachment.
detachment of.
Detachment.
So that's what we shop definitely. We bring everything, cook the prasadam, like a bhoga, and offer to Krishna. So then it comes all Krishna conscious. There's nothing enjoy for me. We're
Yes.
doing everything.
What about if we make a pizza? Is it for
It's
Krishna
also
or is
Krishna's
it
pleasure.
for me?
It's Krishna's pleasure.
It's
So if we the personality as a person, you want to enjoy pizza one day. Every day I give him
You
like
want
rice
the
and
pizza or we want the pizza, but still we are going to. Doesn't- Why exactly pizza? I mean, generally in the temple, they don't offer pizza to Krishna. They offer what? Krishna like to eat what?
Nuts, grains, fruits.
Yeah, but
vegetables,
what's the general menu, Rajabhoga menu in the temple? Generally.
rice, dal, sabji.
Yeah, Krishna likes rice, dal, sabji.
Mhm.
But maybe we say, no, I offer pizza. Why? Krishna appeared in our dream and he said, I wanted to cook pizza for me, or what? Why pizza? Why exactly pizza?
Yeah, in that
Anyway,
point,
I'm just pushing a little bit this
we
to
get
show,
some rice, fruits,
yeah, to show it's not only black and white.
Prabhuji, it's a
We
very
have,
big contradiction also on that. And it is very big contradiction because we being in the society, we have birthday, we have marriage day, we have this day, that day. So then we say, it's my marriage day, is it a Krishna consciousness? Is Krishna need my marriage day?
yes,
So then it's a feeling like, okay, we are going actually materially. And we talking, we just showing Krishna, everything Krishna, but I'm enjoying actually my marriage day.
yeah, so that's why intellectually we should be
Pizza,
able to, intellectually we should be able to differentiate, to show what is 100% for Krishna, what is 100% for me, what is 50% for Krishna and 50% for me, what is 30% for Krishna and 70% for, we should be able to see this. We can do each one of them. That's not the problem. Because even if we give 1% to Krishna, he'll be extremely happy. But we should know, I'm giving 1% and I'm keeping 99 for me. We should not cheat ourselves. And then Krishna doesn't have problem with this. Neither we have a problem because, okay, that's the situation. And gradually we will advance. But we have to know. Like the example that you gave, for example, we have a reason to make something material, for example, some material celebration. Anyway, we are going to do it. And it's not exactly for Krishna. We are doing it because we want to do it, or
For the memory of our days.
yes, because of social custom or because of social pressure or whatever. So anyway, we are going to do it. Now, the best thing, if anyway you're going to do it, is to connect it with Krishna. So then it becomes spiritualized. But we should not say, Prabhu, I'm doing this only for Krishna. I don't have any need to do it, but I'm doing it just for the pleasure of Krishna. Yes.
So we must find a way to always include Krishna in it. See, find a way to that word dovetail. Is it dovetail? Dovetail, whatever we do.
We should,
yes.
When we have to do something, we should know why we are doing it. We just have to analyze a little bit the situation. Am I doing it because I need it? Or am I doing it because I know Krishna likes it and he wants it?
Oh,
You have to be conscious about this. This is part of the self-realization. You do something, you know why you're doing it. And it's not a problem if you're doing it yourself. But then you know, actually, that's not the need of Krishna, that's my need. But I connect my need with Krishna and then it becomes spiritual. So then it's very beneficial.
Sorry, it's very.
Just remember it. Mataji Jai Radha wanted to say something.
You wanted to say something?
No. I said what I had to say. I just added to that.
Prabhuji, we wanted to say at that time when you were saying that one should be detached, we were talking about that shloka, karmanyeva adhikaraste mahaphaleshu kadachana.
Okay.
But that time we wanted to
Okay. Krishna is saying you have the right to perform your duty, but you don't have the right to enjoy the results from your work. Yes?
Yeah.
So the question is, say, as we living in New York, so I work in canteen owners, example.
Yes.
They sell like different type of meats also, and I'm not eating, but because of my living, I'm doing it. But my desire to leave that job, do something else, maybe do a business, or engage in a clothes business.
Mhm.
So I'm switching my business, what is I'm living on, to different one, which is sastri or like which is a purity coming.
More pious.
So this is a desire to leave one, engaging another one, which is more right, like related with our culture, custom of the religious practice. That's why I'm leaving the Dunkin' Donuts job. And so this type of desire isn't because my goal is to come in the platform of the Krishna consciousness platform. And as because though I'm working, so I'm moving from that one to the other one, which is benefit. I'm moving from not touching the meat because I don't eat meat. So this type of things, how are you going to count? Is it a Krishna consciousness also? Because my goal is to go associate with the devotees.
Okay, so the question is, someone is working a job which may be a little bit sinful, and then he wants to move from more sinful job to less sinful job, because any job is sinful at the end of the day. If we have material will, there will be some percentage.
Mhm.
But still more pious job. Is this Krishna conscious or not? Well, it depends on, is it connected with Krishna? If it's just changing your activity from simple to pious, but you don't connect the activity with Krishna, it will be just material activity. Now, if you are going to engage this other activity with Krishna, that's much better. Because the previous one, even if you want,
There is like
you cannot really
I
connect
cannot-
it with
yeah, that's
Krishna
what I'm
because it's
saying.
a sinful activity.
My goal is to be in Krishna consciousness, whereas both are material, but to engage with working with the touching meat
Yes.
and cutting meat. And
From
fixing
this
the clothes.
perspective, it's better.
This process is
But
better.
still, one should make sure that he connects his activity with Krishna.
Krishna, yeah.
Because if he doesn't, then it will stay material activity. This is the difference between direct activity in Krishna consciousness and indirect activities.
Okay.
Direct activity, even if you are for some reason not conscious, still this activity is connected. Let's say chanting of the holy name. You may be conscious what you're doing, or you may be completely spaced out, but the activity itself is directly connected with Krishna. So you get a direct spiritual benefit from it. But let's say you work in a shop and you're selling clothes. This is directly not devotional service.
No.
So now if you are not conscious that you're doing it for Krishna, and at the end of your working week, you get your money and you do something with your money for Krishna. So in other words, if you don't put the endeavors to spiritualize your activity, to just stay material activity.
Yeah. And that is.
So that's the
At
difference.
least like the first part I'm completing, and then second part is my, like goal is my to Krishna consciousness. So easy to maintain that goal with the second job.
Yes.
Better than first job. So that's why we try to switch the job. As we are a social being, we have to work, go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, just as a conclusion, this is something we really have to remember from these 6 chapters. We have to perform our duty, whatever is our duty according to our situation. And we have to do it thinking for Krishna. And we should be ready to give our result for the pleasure of Krishna, or at least some part of our result. This will purify our work. This will purify our engagements in our life as a whole. This is the way to make spiritual advancement.
Yeah, and with all these questions, because like sometimes you read things and it says like Krishna says even the person performing the most abominable acts, is still, like
Sadhu
yeah,
should be considered saintly.
And it's like, do we have to make these distinctions in the material world if we have the right state of mind? Because like this is like why I asked the first question I asked, because it's like, do we look at it practically, or are we looking at it like on a spiritual, like even if a person is fighting a mundane war, if he's a devotee and he's like following the 4 regular principles or whatever, and he's just doing his job, can he really make that for Krishna? And is he really you know, like a Krishna conscious person, because I feel like like I said, like anything in the material world that you do has some type of, you know, like you're gonna do some type of non-devotional thing, like no matter what job it is that you're doing. And it's just like, it's very hard for me to commit to certain things, you know, like not having full faith that, you know, like, because you know how you said, like, you have to be real with yourself and know if you're doing 50% for Krishna, 50% for yourself and things like that. I just, you know, like, is it a bad thing for him to like do his job knowing that he's a devotee in his heart and, you know, like he's just making.
It's not a good thing and it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing. Everybody is in some position. So now the question is, what do you do with your position? If you connect it with Krishna, then your position is elevating. It doesn't matter in what kind of position you are. It can be the worst position. Like the Pandavas, they were in the forest, they were in a so awkward situation. They are devotees of Krishna. But they didn't become rebellious. Oh, we are devotees of Krishna and Krishna is putting us in this difficult situation. No, they just accepted it and they start working from there. And their situation become better and better and perfect at the end. So position is position. Everyone is in some position. Just use this position to make spiritual advancement by connecting it with Krishna. And then the things will get better and better and better.
I had friend, it's our friend, he's from here, he's American. He was fighting in Iraq. So he was doing Ratha Yatra there.
In the army camp with the soldiers, because he was in charge for the soldiers.
He was when they will do this running, and you know they do the exercise and they sing something. So one day they asked him to lead the kirtan. So he started singing Hare Krishna, and all the soldiers, they were singing Hare Krishna, they were making Harinam. And he was selling, he sold so many books, he was selling there, distributing books to the soldiers, to his comrades. So
job also, you can do it, Krishna Contrasting. I used to work in Brooklyn area. There are some Russian, Ukrainian was my colleague. I used to come here with them and we had that prasadam. One of the Muslim girl from Russia, she's vegetarian, completely vegetarian. She likes prasadam. I used to bring her every week once.
Very nice.
So in the job we can do it also. Sometimes when you get break time, if they ask, hey, how are you?
Connect it with Krishna.
Connection, different way. So intention.
Okay, so this was the first 6 chapters. And we'll start with this chapter 7 now. We have little time before the break. As we mentioned, chapter 6 ends with this famous verse. Krishna explains that the devotee is the greatest yogi. And then this is the beginning of chapter 7. But before that, so let's speak a little bit about these 3 groups of chapters. Bhagavad-gita is divided usually in 3. The first 6 chapters, they are the main topic there is karma yoga.
Action.
And this is what this is what Tulsi Prabhu explained. Buddhi yoga or karma yoga or Naishkarmya. Perform our duties according to Shastra, with knowledge, without attachment for the result, and desire to please Krishna. Then the second group of chapters 7, from 7th to 12th chapter. The main topic there is Bhakti Yoga. In the third group of chapters, the main topic is Jnana.
The bhakti in the middle.
Yes. So
protected by Jnana.
Exactly.
First part is karma yoga.
This is how the
Jnana and karma in the 2 sides look here very
protected. Because this is the most precious and the most confidential part of Bhagavad-gita. So it's protected.
Should be in the hiding place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Correct.
So chapter 7 is called Knowledge of the Absolute. In the 7th chapter, Lord Krishna explains that he is the supreme truth, the supreme cause, and the sustaining force of everything, both material and spiritual. So Krishna is the origin of all. And advanced souls surrender into him in devotion when they hear this knowledge. Whereas impious souls divert their minds to other objects of worship. So this is basically 7th chapter in a nutshell. The Vedic way of presenting knowledge is that in the beginning, you should give a very short synopsis, or it's called pratigya. Pratigya means solemn declaration of purpose. So the whole knowledge that you want to impart, you should be able to summarize in 1 sentence or 2 sentences, very short. Therefore, we start our education in Krishna consciousness by the main philosophical truths that are going to stay with us till we attain the level of prema. Yeah, the same. We learn the most important things in the very beginning. And which are those things? We learn sambandha vidya prayojan, right? Krishna, who is Krishna, who is the soul, what is this material world, what is the ultimate goal, and how to attain it. The devotees tell us this the first day when we enter the temple. We immediately receive the conclusion of all Vedas, all the Shastras, the most confidential knowledge. Now is a question of refinement and realizing this knowledge, but we get the knowledge from the very beginning. So therefore, this is the Vedic way of presentation. Okay, the first 6 chapters we mentioned deal mainly with karma yoga, the middle 6 chapters with bhakti, and the last 6 chapters with jnana yoga. And now, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, have you heard of him?
Yeah.
You know. So he's one of the main acharyas in our line. He's disciple of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Okay, anyway, he has a famous commentary on Bhagavad-gita. And in this commentary, he explains that the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita have spoken mainly about the swarupa of the jiva, that means the nature of the soul. Now the means how to realize this swarupa. This is what Krishna explained to Arjuna. The soul is eternal. You should not lament for the passing away of your dear ones, because they'll never die. Neither will you ever die, neither I. And how to realize this eternal nature of the soul? By the process of Nashkarmya, Buddhi Yoga, or Karma Yoga. So this is the first 6 chapters. The middle 6 chapters speak about the Swarupa of the Lord. Swarupa is the
means form
or
of the Lord,
nature,
himself.
Inherent nature, form. Yes. So the chapters 7 till 12, they speak about the nature of the Lord, who is the object of worship of the soul, and how to realize the Lord. So first 6 chapters describe how to realize that you are the soul, that you are eternal, that you are spiritual. And now we will learn how to realize Krishna, his nature.
The last 6 chapter.
And the last 6 chapters we will speak later, but they deal with Jnana Yoga, which means basically it is after we understand the nature of the Lord and the process of Bhakti Yoga, then there are some technical details which are provided in the last 6 chapters, which will ensure that we apply properly the process of Bhakti Yoga. We now know what Bhakti Yoga is, but then there are some things that we should know, like for example, in the last 6 chapters, we
not blindly following.
This is
That's
one
why
thing.
Last
Yeah.
6 chapter.
Yeah, that's
Try
a good
to
point.
Learn something as you following.
Become aware of different subtleties, like for example, the 3 gunas, the chapter 16 and 17, and they deal with the different ways of Krishna explains the 3 modes of material nature in different ways, in different contexts, and this is very important.
So you could say like a knowledge that helps you to check out if you
That's a good point also.
if you properly apply whatever you learned.
Yeah. Because, okay, so you learn Bhakti Yoga, and then you start practicing Bhakti Yoga. But then if you practice Bhakti Yoga properly, you should become elevated pretty soon to the level of Sattva. So you should know
What is that?
what is Sattva Guna. So Krishna explains Sattva Guna is, these are the symptoms if you're in Sattva Guna, and these are the symptoms if you're in Rajas or in Tamas. So then we know whether we apply Bhakti Yoga properly. So this is the last 6 chapters.
I can measure myself where I'm fitting.
Yeah, like you driving car and you see
How
fast.
or Rajaguna or Sattva. So those are the scale I can fit myself and I can prove myself. My partner.
And Prabhupada said the main symptom, whether we are advancing in Krishna consciousness or not, is whether we the material desires are becoming more or less. So this is, you can yourself, you can judge. If we're advancing nicely, if we practice properly, then the material desires are supposed to disappear gradually, the anarthas. But if our practice is not proper, then they will not go away, and then they may even, if you commit offenses, for example, then they can increase. Okay, so Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, another Acharya, explains why Bhakti Yoga, the middle 6 chapters, why it is placed between karma and jnana. He says, Bhakti Yoga is placed between karma and jnana yoga because of its confidential nature. As Prabhuji said, you put the most precious things, you put them in safe somewhere. You don't just expose them everybody to see, because people are envious and they will try to steal it. So because of its superiority, by which it is able to give life to the other two. So they have to be in contact with Bhakti Yoga, karma and jnana, in order to have any sense, any meaning. Otherwise they're that matter. Without Bhakti, everything is useless.
Let's just make it a little practical. Like, for example, you work, but you don't connect your work with Krishna, then what is the use of your work? The result is repeated birth and death. There is no use. So that's why work should be connected with Bhakti, Krishna. Or let's say you have knowledge, but your knowledge is not connected with Krishna. So what will be the result from your knowledge? Doesn't matter what you know, doesn't matter how you know, you'll die at some point.
Outcome will be material.
Yes. So that's why karma and jnana should be connected with knowledge about Krishna, otherwise no use.
Yes, very nice point. And because Bhakti is so rare, another reason. And moreover, because these two, karma and jnana, are useless without Bhakti, the karma and jnana presented in the Gita have been mixed with Bhakti and become more acceptable. It's like you eat something that is completely tasteless, stale. How can you eat this? You have to mix it with something that has some taste. Like muri. You know what muri is?
Yeah, muri, fried rice.
Puffed rice.
Puffed rice.
Yes.
Rice.
So it's
you
have to put something else. You cannot eat it.
Some dhania pata, little bit chili cut. Then it's tasty.
Chili is very important.
You can mix some chanachur in there.
Spice of life.
Maybe making us lunch soon.
So in his purport to verse 28 of chapter 8, Srila Prabhupada writes, chapter 7 through 12 are the essence of Bhagavad-gita. The first 6 and the last 6 chapters are like coverings of the middle 6 chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad-gita, especially these middle 6 chapters, in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculations, etc. For one can achieve all the results of these activities simply by Krishna consciousness. So now we're going to study something very, very special. The middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita. This is the essence of Gita. And inside these middle 6 chapters, there is chapter 9, which is the essence of the essence. 9 and 10, actually. 2 chapters.
Middle of the middle.
Okay, so on this auspicious note, let us
read the verses.
let us. I want to say let us have a break, but Tulsi wants to read the verses. So what shall we do? All the verses. From all the verses, the whole chapter or section.
Maybe we can just read what are the different sections, and we can read the verses of
The first section.
and then after 10 minutes we can have a break.
Yes. So this is the.
I send you a document
Indeed.
to some of you, those who are enrolled. To you, we have to figure it out how to send it to you.
I didn't go through. I didn't.
But
study the
just
book of the
just
chapters.
this will give you some idea how the verses of this chapter are divided. So Pandava will read it now.
So this is called Shloka Anusharanam. Summary of verses. Verses 1 to 3. Knowing Krishna by hearing from him. This is the beginning of this chapter.
7 chapter.
7 chapter, verses 1 to 3 till 3rd. Knowing Krishna by hearing from him, Krishna explains about himself. So this is the way how you can understand about Krishna. You have to listen from Krishna personally or from his representative. Then verses 4 to 14. Krishna is the source of all spiritual and material energies and the controller of the 3 modes. So the first chapter, the first group of verses from 1 to 3, Krishna basically says that if you want to know about me, you have to listen from me. And then he says that people who want to listen from him, only those people can understand what is the reality. And then these people are very rare.
Out of some thousand and thousands.
Yes.
One person can try to realize, and out of those, one maybe come close to me. So it's like out of some 100,000, one person.
Yes.
Trying to go in.
Very rare.
Contrasting.
And Krishna says, what I'm going to give you now is everything. This is the whole knowledge. Everything. If you know this, there is nothing for you that will remain unknown. So this is the beginning of this 7th chapter. It's quite a claim. Right? I'm going to give you now everything that is possible to be known, both phenomenal and luminous, explains Prabhupada. What are the words? Jnana and Vijnana?
Yes.
Can you read?
So shall we read which verses from?
Okay, the first
1 to
verse.
3.
First 3 verses.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Sakta Manaparta Yogam Yunjan Mat Ashrayaha Asamshayam Samagramam Yata Gyasyasi Tachrinu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, now hear, O son of Prita, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Text 2. Jnanam teham sa vidyanam idam vakshyami asheshataha yajgyatva neha bhuyo nyach gyatavyam avashishyate. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Text 3. Manushanam suhastreshu kaschit yatati sidaye yadatam apisidanam kaschit mam vetitatvataha. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth.
So, Krishna will reveal all the knowledge in full. And when he starts revealing this knowledge, from verse 4th onwards, what he explains is that he is the source of all spiritual and material energies and the controller of the three modes. So basically, Krishna describes his own nature, and he explains his energies. And when he gives this knowledge to Arjuna, then what is the result of what happens when Krishna reveals himself? What happens when we go on the street and start chanting Hare Krishna? So the holy name is not different from the Lord. What happens? It immediately divides people into suras and asuras, demons and devotees. So verses 15 to 19, Krishna explains that there are two classes of men: those who surrender and those who never surrender. And four types of people, pious people who surrender to the Lord, and four types of impious people who don't surrender to the Lord. So this is the result of transcendental knowledge. When the real knowledge appears, then people have to take stand. Those who are envious, they cannot stand when Krishna appears and he says, I am the Supreme Personality of God. They're just like so envious. They immediately start arguing, no, why Krishna? Why this? Why that? No, this. And there are pious people, the devotees, who they're in ecstasy when Krishna makes this claim. They're like, yeah, Haribo, Jai Krishna. So these two types of persons. And then verses 20 to 23 and 24 to 28.
What is the 15 to 20? What?
15 till 19, these are the two classes of people: demigods and demons. Those who surrender and those who don't surrender. And then from verses 20 till 30, basically, till the end of the chapter, Krishna explains different details. What are the other types of persons and how they react when they hear the transcendental knowledge. So you have the demigod worshippers from 20 to 23. You have the impersonalists from 24 to 28, and you have 29 and 30 Yoga Mishra Bhakta. This is a type of devotee, but his devotion is mixed with desire for liberation. Therefore, he's Yoga Mishra Bhakta. So the impious souls, the impious people, they don't worship the Lord, but there are other people who want to worship something, but they don't worship the Lord. They worship the demigods. And there are also the Mayavadis who try to present the Lord as impersonal because they are envious of him. So these are the different types of worshippers. Okay, so seventh chapter, Krishna presents himself, the knowledge about himself, and then we see the reaction. So that's the seventh chapter. Different people react in different ways when Krishna explains that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Seventh chapter. So we'll hear more about this after the break. Okay, and remember, Krishna just made the extraordinary claim. He said that I'm gonna present this knowledge in full. And after you understand this, there is nothing more for you to know. That's the whole knowledge is in this seventh chapter. Everything's here.
Can you after break one question?
Yes, sure.
You said four types of people do the Krishna consciousness. It's so far I know Artho, Artharthi, Jigashu, and Gyani. So if you can explain after break.
Yeah. No, these are the four types.
We'll have a very in-depth discussion about this.
Okay.
Just a little later in the chapter.
We'll go on break.
Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Harihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear us?
Yes,
Yes,
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
we can hear you.
Jai. So then we continue. So Supreme Personality of Godhead said, now hear, O son of Prita, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So the end of the previous chapter, 6th chapter, Krishna explained that the highest yogi is the person who always abides in him with great devotion. And now, in the beginning of the 7th chapter, Krishna will explain how this can be attained. Because this is the connection between these two chapters. And how this can be attained? Simply by hearing from Krishna and applying in our life the knowledge given by Krishna. Tachrinu. By the way, this verse is the verse that Srila Prabhupada lectured the most on. If you make a research in Veda base. So the Lord continued, I shall now declare into you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport to verse 2. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, complete knowledge. Complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. So these three, they refer to Sambandha Gyan. Knowledge about the phenomenal world, this is the material world. The spirit behind it, this refers to the soul. And the source of both of them, this is Krishna. The Sanskrit terms are Chit, Achit, Ishvara. Chit is the spirit soul, Achit is matter, and Ishvara is Krishna. So this is Sambandha Gyan. This is transcendental knowledge. The Lord wants to explain the above mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna confidential devotee and friend. In the chapter 15, Krishna explains the same thing. There he says, by the way, the end of chapter 15 is actually a summary of Vedanta Sutra, the whole Vedanta philosophy summarized in the last verses of chapter 15. So Krishna says there, Iti guhyatamam shastram. No, this is 20. So there he says, Dvafimao purusha luke ksharas chakshara evacha kshara sarvani bhutani kutos kshara uchite. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called unfallible. And then the next verse, besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Lord, the imperishable Lord himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. So we have the spirit soul and you have the Lord. Krishna describes what is the reality, what is out there. This is called ontology in the language of the Western philosophy. And Krishna says, because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I'm the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. So first Krishna says, you have the fallible and infallible living beings, then you have the supreme being, and then he says, I am that supreme being. And I am celebrated as the Supreme Person.
So Krishna is beyond fallible and infallible.
Yes, yes.
We
That
can
means
not count him in one of these.
no, because he's infallible means the Nitya Siddha living entities in the spiritual world. But he's even beyond them.
He's beyond the
Yes,
necessity.
he's the Lord. And then Krishna says, Yomam evam asam mudo janati purushottamam sa sarvavit bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. Again, the same idea. If you know Krishna, you know everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Okay.
Dear devotees, can you hear us on Zoom?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes,
Ah.
yes, Prabhu. Mhm.
Okay.
Yes,
because
yes.
looks like there is some problem with the internet, but no, it's fine.
So, whoever knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead is knower of everything, and because he knows perfectly the Lord, what is the result of this knowledge? He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me. So this is the result of knowledge. The result of perfect knowledge is devotional service. If somebody claims that he has knowledge, but he doesn't serve Krishna, that means his knowledge is imperfect. Krishna makes this statement many times in Bhagavad-gita and in other places also. Perfect knowledge means pure devotional service. And then Krishna says, this is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So this is 15th chapter. And here, again, in 7th chapter, Krishna says that he reveals this knowledge to his devotee Arjuna, because he is devotee. In the Prabhupada writes, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport to verse 2, in the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord, and it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession directly from the Lord. Okay? Very important. And then this is very rare, Krishna says, out of many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one can know me in truth. Srila Prabhupada writes, even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Maybe Tulsi can read this. Muhyanti yat surayaha. Mam tu vedana kaschana. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says. And if one does know him, then samahatma sudurlabha. Anyway, this is maybe, it's not the whole paragraph. I'm going to read it. Such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, one cannot know Krishna as he is, tatvataha, even though one is a great scholar or philosopher. Krishna is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Okay, questions? Comments? Then we move to the next section, verses 4 to 14. Krishna is the source of all spiritual and material energies and the controller of the three modes. So after the introduction, where Krishna explained that he will reveal the full knowledge, then what he does is that he summarizes everything that exists in the material world into two categories. Yeah, the Lord continued, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. So now Krishna will describe what is reality. So first, he describes the 8 separate material energies. And then...
Shall we read all the verses?
Oh yeah, okay. So let's read the verses.
Okay, I'll start and everybody can read one verse. Do you have your Gitas?
Yeah. We have to, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Pandava, he did 7:4. 7:5. Apariyam itaspanyam prakritim vidime param, jiva bhutam mahabaho, yayadam daryate jagat. Besides this, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities who are exploring the resources of this material inferior nature. 6, 7 chapter verse 6.
Okay. Okay. Etadhyunini bhutani shagoniti upadhaya aham krishnasya jagatah prabhavo pralayasthatha. All created beings have their source in these two natures of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world. Know for certain, and I am both the origin and the dissolution.
Okay, Noah. 7.
Mata pratatam dayat chinsi disti dayan daya mai sarvam midam protam shrute mani gana iva. O conqueror of wealth, there is no true superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread.
Okay. Bhaktavatsala and Jayarade, can you read?
Dasoham apsu konteya prabhashmi shashisureya pranava sarva vedeshu shabda ke purusham nushu. Rivo. O son of Tulsi, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, and the sound in ether and ability in man.
Okay. Next.
She's gone to wash her hands. Should I continue?
Yeah.
9th.
Yeah, you can read instead of her.
Punyo gandha prithvim cha tejas cha asmi vibhavashu jivanam sarva bhuteshu tapas cha asmi tapavashu. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetic.
Okay. Pushpanjali Mataji.
Okay.
10.
10. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam vidhi partha sanatanam budhir budhi matam asmi tejas vanam aham. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men.
Great.
Okay.
Laukik Prabhu, you're there?
Yes, Prabhu, sure.
Okay, you can read next one.
Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamoshmi bharatarsabha. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna.
Okay, read one more.
Ye chaiva satvika bhava rajasas tamasascha ye matta evati tan vidhi natva aham teshu te mayi. Translation. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me.
Okay. Padam Gopal Prabhu.
Trivia Guna Maya Bhavir Evi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Nabi Janati Mam Evya Param Avyayam. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me. Who am I above the modes and inexhaustible? Who who am me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible.
Okay, and you can do 14.
Gaivija esa gunamai mama maya duratyaya mam evaye prapadyante mayam etan tarantinte. The divine energy of mind consists of the three modes, purification, those that surrender unto me and cross beyond.
Okay. So Krishna describes the reality. The reality constitutes of matter, 8 separate material elements, material energies. And then besides this, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So this is reality. Srila Prabhupada comments in Srimad Bhagavatam on these verses from Bhagavad-gita. First, he comments on the 8 separated material energies. He says, but although the 8 gross and subtle material energies, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, might, intelligence, and false ego, are stated to be bhinna, separate from the Lord, actually they are not. As fire appears separate from wood, and as the air flowing through the nostrils and mouth of the body appears separate from the body, so the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears separate from the living being, but is actually separate and not separate simultaneously. Because this is the philosophy of Achiti Beda Beda Tattva, propounded by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to the reactions of karma, the living being appears separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but actually he is very intimately related with the Lord. Consequently, even though we now seem neglected by the Lord, he's actually always alert to our activities. Okay, so we're separate, but also not separate. Krishna is always aware what we are doing because he's in our hearts. Yes.
So just a quick question. So on the last one, it says, with those who have surrendered onto me can easily cross beyond it. With the modes of material nature, if we're subject to them still, then that means we haven't surrendered enough. How do we know how much we need to surrender still to be no longer subject to the modes of material nature?
Yes, in 14th chapter, 26th verse, Krishna says, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatititam brahma bhuya kalpate. That means when we are engaged in devotion service fully and we don't fail, we're not falling down from devotion service, then we are above the modes. So that means we have to always be engaged in devotion service. How much we should fully surrender.
Okay, so we're not absorbed enough.
Yes, not absorbed. But also there is another verse from Gita. Krishna says that those people who are not enlivened when they notice the symptoms of sattva guna in their consciousness, and they are not so they're not happy when they're in sattva, and they don't hate the symptoms of tamas. Those people are actually liberated. So that means that you may notice the symptoms of the modes in your consciousness, but your consciousness is not influenced by it. So you don't identify, you're not elated when there's some happiness and knowledge, and this is the symptoms of sattva. And when there is, when you feel the symptoms of rajas, you like you don't hate them. So that's what Krishna says.
So you're still experiencing them, but you're just indifferent towards them.
And you don't allow them to influence you, your decisions, your consciousness, basically.
You don't identify with them. You don't think these symptoms, this is you. Now you're happy. This is me. I'm happy. No. This is the influence of the goodness. Later, the modes will change. So such a devotee, he can always stay like a observer. He sees that things are changing. Now I feel very energetic. Then later I feel very peaceful. Then later I feel
restless,
dull, restless. These are symptoms of the material nature. And you as a soul go through these symptoms, but I'm not the symptoms. So such a devotee with such a consciousness, he can always, what is the word?
transcend.
Yeah, he makes a difference between what he observes and himself.
So that's like there's levels to it. You could stop identifying with the body on a gross level, and simultaneously the highest level is to no longer identify, all the way up to the subtle level.
Yeah.
And then up to the self. So okay, so before you attain self-realization, you need to go from the gross level to the subtle level, and until you're transcendental, while simultaneously like focusing on Krishna and like not identifying with. Okay.
But we are achieving all this just by serious engagement in devotion. So this will be the automatical effect of this.
So your consciousness is fixed on Krishna. He takes care of the rest, like kind of just.
Yes.
Okay.
Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevaram Bhakti Vyuchyate. When we are engaged in service of the Lord of the senses, then the senses are automatically controlled because he's the master of the senses, the mind also. Okay, so the 8 material energies, they are separated, but they are also not separated at the same time. So in Bhagavad-gita lecture, Srila Prabhupada explains how the material elements are the separated energy of the Lord. Binna Prakriti. How is this actually happening? So Prabhupada says, Binna means separated. An example is when I speak into the tape recorder. You know that Prabhupada was translating his books by speaking to a tape recorder. When you reply the tape recorder, you hear my voice, but it is not me. It is my separated energy. With my energy, I have spoken. I have vibrated some sound, and it is recorded on the tape. When it is played back, it produces exactly the same sound, but it is separated from me. Try to understand. This material world is just like that, binna, separate. Real life is in the spiritual world. And these energies, the external energy, Krishna says, are separated. Separated means you cannot perceive Krishna directly from this energy. That means separated.
Okay. This is just a sign of. Sorry, this is maybe helping me understand this way. So they so they say that like everything is vibration. So is that how everything comes out of Krishna? He's basically vibrating the material world into existence, if that makes sense? Or is that not explained because it's too complex for us to understand?
No, I mean, vibration means sound.
Yeah.
So this is how everything has been created in the material world by Lord Brahma vibrating the Vedas. So the Vedas are the beginning, you can say. The sound is the beginning of this universe. So then and the sound comes from Krishna. The original sound comes from Krishna and it has been revealed in the heart of Brahma as the Vedas. The flute of Krishna.
We have internet connection, devotees, yes?
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. We are just checking.
We're still here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. And then Srila Prabhupada writes regarding the superior energy, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Srila Prabhupada writes in purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.34. These are the Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam. Prabhupada writes, the superior energy of the Lord cannot be as good as the Lord, although there is very little difference between the energy and the possessor of the energy. or the fire and the heat. So the fire is the source of the energy, and the heat is energy of the fire. So Krishna is the source, and we are energy of Krishna. Fire is possessed of heat, but heat is not fire. Okay. Heat is not the fire, but fire has the heat. So in the same way, we are parts and parcels. We are energy of the Lord, but we are not the Lord. This simple thing is not understood by the man with poor fund of knowledge who falsely claims that the fire and the heat are the same. So who are those men with poor fund of knowledge who claim the fire and the heat are the same? Who are those people? Mayavadis, right?
Mayavadi.
Mm-hmm.
They want to merge after leaving this body.
Yeah.
But
They are not.
We want to be servant to Krishna anywhere you go. Merging capacity.
Okay. So everything we see in the material world turns out is Krishna's energy. Therefore, Krishna explains, these are my energies. So that means everything is connected to Krishna. So the advanced devotees are aware of this connection between the energy and the energetic. This, while working in the material world, they can always remember Krishna because everything is energy of Krishna. On the other hand, the materialistic scholars and in general, the materialistic persons, they try to understand the energy without connecting it with the energetic. It's just like you enter into the house of somebody and you behave like as there is no owner of the house. So imagine what will be the reaction. You just
Like my house.
Yes, it is my house. So you ignore the owner. Why? Because you want to claim the house for
At
yourself.
some point, I'm going to get caught and throw in the jail.
So-
Where we are right now.
So these are the materialists. They want to ignore the owner of the house, and this is the person that they want to see. This is exactly the person they don't want to see, the owner, because. And then show me God. Well, you don't want to see you don't want to see God because this will be the end of your game. So if you see God, that's it.
Say, when we think we are the owner of everything, that means we ignore the owner.
Yeah.
Then Maya, goddess Durga, she is jailed. So because of our desire, Lord Krishna give us the form and put in the jail of Durga.
Yes.
And we are in all the prison in Durga Mata's jail.
Yeah.
So because of lording over, which is not mine, but I'm
And
thinking it's mine.
in such a perfectly constructed jail that we are not even aware that we're in jail. If you are aware that you're in a prison house, you may try to escape, and you may even escape. But if you're not aware that you're in a prison, there is no way that you try to escape. You think you're free.
Yeah, some example we did.
So the materialistic scholars try to understand the energy without connecting it with the energetic, and out of ignorance, they limit their study. They try to study the material world, but because they're in ignorance, they limit their study with what? What they study? With the gross material elements. Yeah.
Only the energy.
Only the energy, and only part of the energy, actually, because they're not so much aware of the subtle energies like the mind, the intelligence, the false ego. They're not so much. They have some definitions, but they're very unsatisfactory. What is mind? What is intelligence?
They try to make it up.
Yes,
They're
even
in
consciousness.
Inside the vacuum, they try to stay in the bubble. They don't go
Even-
anywhere else.
Even consciousness by which they are operating is mystery for the materialistic scholars, because consciousness normally, according to their definitions, is kind of anomaly. It's not supposed to exist because it's not non-material. Obviously, it's something that they cannot put their hands on. They cannot measure it. They cannot touch it. So according to their own definition of reality, it's not supposed to be there. Consciousness, they cannot explain it. Okay. Yes.
maybe, yeah, we can say something shortly about the scientists. This point that it's not that devotees, they don't accept the science or they don't accept the things that the science can do. Like, for example, phone. Okay, we are using phone or we are using computer. So obviously there is something, they have some knowledge about the energy of the Lord and the laws according to this energy is working. So we don't have problem with that. Our problem is what Pandava just read, that they don't show the connection between the energy and the owner of the energy. So that's the whole problem. Like before, some years ago, people, they had some knowledge about the world, about the cosmos, about the universe, and so on and so on. But they were also conscious that, okay, there is an owner of all this. And nowadays, the problem is that the science is getting separated from the knowledge of God. So this is the
big gap.
The illusion, or we can say the dark side of the science. They don't want to show that actually everything we know, everything we are finding out actually is connected with God. Because if we show this, that means we at least we have to show some appreciation, some gratefulness to God. But we don't want to do that. We want to have full control on whatever we know. So that's why this knowledge is not given to the people. And these are the brahmanas of the society. Scientists, these are the modern brahmanas. They're supposed to teach people how to live, what is the goal of life, and so on and so on. So they will give them all this knowledge, but they won't say to who belong all this.
Yeah, and what's the purpose of human life also? There was somebody who wrote that, I don't remember, but somebody wrote that on the maps of the reality of the world that presented to us by modern science, there is everything besides us. We are nowhere there. Because there is no place for the purpose of human life. Yeah, what is the purpose? Okay. And except for sense gratification, of course, but that's not what human life is meant for. So this is the reality. There is spirit, matter, and the origin of all. So we're studying this. You can say this is philosophical knowledge, Sambandha-gyan, because unless we know the position of Krishna and his opulence, our devotional service will not be solid, will not be based on a solid foundation. Srila Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, a sincere student should not neglect the discussion of such philosophical conclusions, considering them controversial, for such discussions strengthen the mind. Thus one's mind becomes attached to Sri Krishna.
So basically that means that devotees, they should be ready to discuss the philosophy, and although at some point we may already think, oh, I know all these things, I have heard them so many times. No, actually they should discuss the same philosophical points from different perspectives, because this will help us to have very broad understanding of the subject, and then we will be able very easily to use it practically in our life. And without these kind of discussions, the knowledge to big extent will stay theoretical for us. So we'll know it. Let's say someone comes and asks us, so what's your philosophy? We'll be able to explain just with few sentences. But then when we have to use this same knowledge in our life, we won't be able to use it. In our life will stay the same. We won't be able to connect the philosophical knowledge with the practical life. That's why this knowledge should be discussed again and again and again from different perspectives.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada calls this vichar. Vichar means to discuss the books from different points of view. So Srila Prabhupada writes, one who is situated in knowledge of Krishna and acts accordingly is executing devotional service. So this is the definition of devotional service. You know what is the truth and you act accordingly. This is bhakti. Srila Prabhupada writes in Renunciation Through Wisdom. This is one of his books, not so widely known. Prabhupada writes, devotion resides in perfect knowledge of the Supreme. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila 702, Prabhupada writes, bhakti develops in pursuance of Vedanta philosophy. Very important. So we are not averse to studying philosophy, because the conclusion of whole philosophy is what? Pure devotional service. So bhakti develops in pursuance of Vedanta philosophy. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-12. Tat Shraddhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Taitvam.
Okay.
The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. And Rupa Goswami says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Virvida Akaintuki Hare Bhaktir Utpatadaiva Kalpate. Devotional service performed without reference to the Vedas, Puranas, Pancharatras, etc. must be considered sentimentalism, and it causes nothing but disturbance to society. So, bhakti should be based on scripture, on knowledge, on Shastra. It shouldn't be sentimental. And the perfect knowledge of the absolute truth must result in pure devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if there is no devotional service, we must assume that the knowledge of the absolute truth has not reached maturity. We just read this verse from Bhagavad-gita, 15th chapter. Krishna says, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharat. So this is an important topic. Real knowledge means bhakti. Perfect knowledge means bhakti, okay. Real knowledge, I mean, can be real, but if it doesn't lead to bhakti, it's not perfect, it's not mature. Okay.
Prabhuji, I had a question. Should I ask now or should
Yes,
I wait
please.
till?
Whenever you have questions, you can ask them, right?
Okay. So my question was, Prabhuji read something about discussing controversies, and you were saying that we should read the commentaries of different acharyas to understand the concepts given in our scriptures. So should it be just about, like getting to know the point of view of different acharyas? And what if we don't agree? Is there a chance that we will commit some offense at the lotus feet? So where is the line between exploring the controversies and not committing any offense?
So our access to the previous acharyas is only through Srila Prabhupada. This is the meaning of founder acharya. It doesn't simply mean that there is some guy who registered ISKCON in New York City. Founder acharya means that he presents all the conclusions, all the essence, the siddhanta of all acharyas for the population of Kali Yuga. So that means our access to Jiva Goswami, to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is only through Srila Prabhupada. So when we read, for example, the works of the previous acharyas, of course we should first read Srila Prabhupada's books many times, and then we read. So, but let's say we want to read something from Jiva Goswami, and we encounter something that we don't understand. We should know that there is no contradiction between what Srila Prabhupada says and what the Acharya says. There is no contradiction. There might be apparent contradiction in our mind only, that we don't understand something. So we should never think that Prabhupada says something and Jiva Goswami says something different. No, they all say the same thing. But in order to understand this, it requires some spiritual maturity and realizations. And even let's say we are convinced that there is contradiction, unfortunately. Even then, the rule is that we should always go with our acharya.
Okay.
Understand? We should always go with Srila
Yes.
Prabhupada. And then by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, by Krishna's mercy, in due course of time, we'll understand that there is no contradiction. That what Jiva Goswami, for example, says is the same. But we should never reject our acharya. We should never reject Srila Prabhupada and accept the previous acharyas when we think that there is contradiction. This is completely forbidden. That means that we are not chaste to our acharya, to the person who saved us from hell. He came here to New York City, to the West, to save us, and we show indifference, and we show unchastity. What's the word, to him? So if we do this, then this ungratefulness, yes, this is outrageous. Actually, it's a great offense. And then the residents of the spiritual world, they will never trust us because we are not faithful to our acharya. Why should they trust us if we are not trustworthy? So basically, in this way, we should and we should always consult senior devotees, our mentors, our teachers, when there is some doubt or some apparent contradiction. Just be.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
So the Lord explains that the living entities who are exploiting the material elements are his superior energy. This doesn't mean that in any point of their spiritual emancipation, the living entities can become Krishna. This never happens. We are always servants of Krishna, even when we are liberated. So then in the next two verses, 6 and 7, Krishna introduces himself as a separate category. So he says that
what is the number?
6 and 7, Krishna speaks about himself.
So until now, in 4th and 5th, Krishna spoke about his energies, material energy and the living entities. And now he starts speaking about himself.
Yes, and he says, all created beings have their source in these two natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So when pearls are strung on a thread, we see the pearls, right? We don't see the thread. So in the same way, Krishna as the creator, the maintainer, and the dissolver is always present, although we may not always see him. We see the pearl. We see his energies, but we don't see often him. But he's present. He's there. Because he holds the pearls together. So, shall we go into this Shruti mantras? So in this way, we can properly understand, understanding this verse from Bhagavad-gita, 7th verse of chapter 7, we can properly understand all these Vedic mantras, which are often quoted by the impersonalists. For example, Sarva Kalfidam Brahma, everything and everywhere is Brahman, and Aham Brahmasmi, I am by nature Brahman. So we can understand that everything is Krishna's energy. And they understand it in the sense that I am Krishna. No. Even I was listening recently lecture by one devotee, and he was saying that even, let's say, the soul enters Brahma Jyoti, and the soul doesn't actually merge with the Supreme. He doesn't become the Supreme. This is not possible. It's just an illusion. Simply, just like he was giving an example, you're in a dark room and you don't see anything. then suddenly somebody splashes a light on you, and then you become dazzled and completely bewildered. So you don't know what's going on. Well, something similar is the experience in Brahma-jyoti. Just dazzling light. You become confused. But it's not, you don't merge with anything. You're still who you are. So in this way, by Krishna's mercy, we can properly understand all these statements from the Vedas, Aham Brahmasmi, etc. Everything is Brahman means everything is Krishna's energy. Then in verses 8 to 11, the Lord explains and give examples, give analogies in order to give us a chance, opportunity to understand how everything is strung on Him. The Lord gives examples as to how we can remember Him while working in the material world. This is so important because we are always surrounded by the Lord's energy, but we are not aware of that all the time. So in this way, Krishna helps us to attain the stage of Maya Saktamana. This is the beginning of chapter 7. Krishna says, mind, the first verse, mind attached to me, me, Asaktamana, mana, mind, asakta means attachment. So how everything is connected to Krishna? Krishna explains, O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and the ability in man. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. Did we read this?
No, we read just the verses.
Okay.
No, it's good.
I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. We read it. O son of Prita, know that I am the original seat of all existence, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. So this is all opportunity to remember Krishna. For example, the taste of the water. When we drink water, we're supposed to think, oh, this taste that quenches my thirst, this is Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada actually explains that Krishna is not just the taste of the water, he is also the taste of wine. He is the taste of every liquid that is pleasant to us. Everything that gives us pleasure, material or spiritual, cannot be anything else but Krishna. So Prabhupada says in this is lecture on Bhagavad-gita from Stockholm on 7.1 from Gita. Krishna is even, okay, I am the taste of any liquid that attracts you. Even if you are a drunkard and fond of wine, I should recommend that you simply think that this taste of wine is Krishna. That will make a yogi of you. That will make you the greatest yogi. Simply repeat, I am tasting wine. I'm tasting wine. Oh, very nice taste. This is Krishna. So this is the process.
Is this in the purport you're reading? Or
This is from lecture.
Okay. All right.
So Prabhupada says,
You wanted to show it to your friends how to become Krishna conscious.
I was reading, I'm trying to read it all.
okay. Isn't that easy? That is Krishna consciousness. So to think, this is Krishna. Prabhupada writes in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.13.29 purport. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying to remove the ignorance of misled human beings who are trying to find water outside the jurisdiction of life. Rasu Vaisaha, Rasuham Apsakantaya. The taste of water is Krishna. To quench one's thirst, one must taste water by association with Krishna. So Krishna is not only everything that surrounds us, all the elements and all the objects, but he's also the essence of everything. Like, for example, why we're drinking water? Because water quenches our thirst. It's actually Krishna. Otherwise, you drink water, but you remain thirsty. Or you go to sleep and you're supposed to be refreshed after sleeping, right? So this is Krishna also. Sometimes people sleep for a long time, but they don't feel refreshed. It happened to you sometimes. You feel actually more tired.
So you're saying that when you drink water,
I'm gonna do it right now.
when you feel satisfied from this activity, this satisfaction is coming because Krishna, with his
Is the
potency,
active
is
principle.
present in
Yes,
this
he's the
action.
active principle of water. He's the water itself and the active principle. Just like you have a medicine, and there is always the active ingredient of the medicine. So that's Krishna. Krishna will say this actually a little later. I'm the healing help.
In the 9th chapter.
Yes. Yes.
So it's more satisfying when you're Krishna conscious of it.
Yeah.
So like when you're drinking water, the potency of the thirst quenching will be more satisfactory because you're aware that it's from Krishna.
You'll be more. Yeah.
The same thing with like sleep or everything. Really, because
Yes.
Krishna
So here we have. Yes.
Okay, so one more question. So when trying to become more Krishna conscious, do you just, like, because me, I'm not fully Krishna conscious yet. So like when I'm drinking water or starting, is the best thing to do to say like just constantly reminding yourself that oh, this is Krishna. And then and is it trying to do that with everything where it's like I don't know, just everything, but maybe some examples might help with, I'm opening this door, it's like, this is Krishna, this door is Krishna, or like, how should we go about it, especially in the beginning towards becoming fully Krishna conscious,
Well, I heard that one devotee, he in America, he wanted to be fully Krishna conscious, so he had a special frame here on his head, and then there was like this, and then here was a picture of Krishna. So so this is how he would move about, whatever he was watch, look, always try to, but that's not recommended by Prabhupada. So this was more like speculation. So we chant Hare Krishna, and this is what I wanted to say. Here we have a broad range of different ways that you can go about it. I'm the light of the sun and the moon. So we're supposed to remember Krishna when we see. I'm the sound in ether. Sound is Krishna. So ability in the man. We are fascinated by the talents that so many people have. So this is Krishna. And our talents also, although they may be a little more insignificant. I'm the heat in fire. Now it's cold, it's winter, so heat in fire, it's Krishna.
Is it the cold is Krishna too? Right? Cold.
Yeah. But Krishna doesn't say the cold, he says, well, there are certain aspects of, just like Srila Prabhupada, when they were bombarding Calcutta during the Second World War, and Srila Prabhupada would not go to the hidings. And then he would say, well, this is just another, let's say the bomb hits his place. So this is just another form of Krishna, but it's not very pleasant for, that's all. So there are certain pleasant, for our understanding, pleasant aspects of universal form that Krishna is pointing out here. They're easier for us to connect to. But otherwise, everything is Krishna.
Is it Tulsi then if you go the negativity, the demoniac action, if you think like control,
Yeah,
the most demoniac.
Yeah.
We can say this is one form of Krishna also.
Yeah.
Because he's the thiefest than thief. He's the greatest than great.
Yeah.
In Vrindavan, he was the most thief. So from the negativity, but that theft different also. He theft our all ego and everything, and then clean it up as a devotee. So he will steal everything from us, all the negativity. So from that point, he's also thief, but he's stealing it.
Yeah.
It depends like how you explain.
I feel like if it wasn't for Kamsa, there wouldn't be so many pastimes of Krishna.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay, so Krishna continues. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. So thus, though everything is coming from the Lord, this is what we are talking for so long, everything is connected to the Lord. Still, Krishna is fully independent. He's not under the modes of material nature. The fact that he's the origin of everything doesn't mean that he's controlled by whatever he created.
But
We are
some-
controlled.
Some of the people say Krishna is unborn.
Mm.
So if Lord is unborn, how he become a human being as a Krishna? So it's definitely it's not my idea. It's some people argument. What you guys think Krishna is God, or you guys say Jesus Christ is the Son of God. So what is unborn? How it is possible? So from my concept, I think this is basically they totally looking from their own vision, material vision. Because if for Krishna is something not,
Yes,
then it is
yes.
not Krishna. He is not Lord.
This is not the question.
Question is, if some people, they may say, but God is unborn, but we see Krishna is born, Jesus is born. So how is that?
How is
And
Lord?
yeah, Prabhuji is
Does it-
explaining that. Yeah, but basically, the problem is that they refuse to see the reality. Because let's say if we go to the pastimes of Krishna, okay, Krishna appeared. How is he appearing?
It's four-handed first in front of the parents.
Yes,
And then he turns to two-handed.
Yes.
because people is gonna scare her or something.
he appeared. He was not a baby. He was
Full-
huge. He was with 4 hands. He had all these attributes, special attributes like weapons and this and that. So is this ordinary birth? Can you say that this is ordinary person? So they basically people are saying these things because they are,
It's an excuse.
yes, they are already looking for an excuse to support their viewpoint.
Their vision.
So they are not trying from a neutral perspective to see the situation and then judge. Okay, let's see if Krishna is God or not. Let's see what are the facts, and then go to the conclusion. No, they already have the conclusion. They don't want to accept that Krishna is God, and now they start looking for all kinds of opportunities just to support their
own.
thesis.
Yeah, that's what I understand. Because
That's
it's like frogs in the wall.
Yeah. But if Krishna is so now we're in the same line of thought. If Krishna is the controller of the modes and the origin and the essence of everything, why don't people recognize him as Supreme Personality of Godhead? So this is the question here.
Yes.
And then Krishna,
do you get the question, dear devotees? Yes or no?
Partially,
No.
yes.
Sometimes, yeah, it's cracking.
Okay, if Krishna is everything and is everywhere, why people don't know this?
why don't people recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So the Krishna answers in verses 13 and 14, and basically the answer is because they are fools and rascals. That's the answer. The Lord continued, deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. And then Krishna says this famous verse, this divine energy of mine, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So why people don't know that Krishna is God? They're rascals.
They're rascals.
That's the answer.
So but say they're rascals. Many pages. They're
Yes.
And because of this, the modes of material nature are covering them. And although Krishna is everywhere, although Krishna is in their life, although Krishna is maintaining them, or Krishna is protecting them, they cannot see that this is Krishna. They think, oh, this is material energy. They think, oh, this is by chance. I'm very lucky. All kinds of other conclusions, but they cannot see. As Bhagavatam is saying, Pashan api na pashyati. They see.
They look, but they don't see.
Yes.
They're very unfortunate.
Because Krishna doesn't want to impose himself. And just like a normal person, if you're not welcome somewhere, if you know that somebody doesn't like you, you don't go there to impose yourself. You just stay away. So Krishna also, he knows these people, they don't like me. So I'm not gonna reveal myself, because they basically don't want me in their lives. So Krishna just stays away and waits. But he's always giving everybody chance, because he says Paramatma present everywhere. Yes.
Where is Maya? Where does Maya come into play in this? Because Maya is one of Krishna's energies, but like with the 5 elements and the 3 modes, like where does Maya fit into?
So Maya, there is the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. So you have the Lord and his energy. It's one energy, but she acts in different ways according to the attitude of the jiva, of the soul. So when the soul, the great souls, they're always under the protection of the spiritual potency. I mean, it's one potency, but she acts as spiritual potency because they want to serve the Lord. So this is Yogamaya. But when the soul, Bahirmukh, wants to turn away from Krishna, then the same energy facilitates this by providing the soul with material intelligence, false ego, material body built by these 5 elements, Panchamahabhuta, and facilitates the forgetfulness of Krishna and makes sure that this conditioned soul doesn't bother Krishna. So that's her role. But it's the same person. She acts differently according to our attitude towards Krishna and towards her as well. All right, so this is basically the knowledge given by Krishna. And now when this knowledge is revealed, then the conditioned soul is faced only with 2 choices. We can surrender to Krishna, or we can continue our struggle for existence. And depending on their choice, there are 2 categories of living entities. Those who surrender, 4 groups of them, and those who never surrender, also 4 groups of those. So we're going to learn this next time.
Is there, we know Krishna has 2 energies, right? Like innumerable, but we see external and internal energy. But there is Tatastha. Tatastha means in between. Can we say Maya is Tatastha?
No. Maya, when
you can repeat the question.
Okay, so the question is, there are 2 energies, 3 energies, external, internal, and marginal. So can we say that Maya is the marginal energy? No, because when we are in this marginal position, marginal means Tatastha means we are right on the shore, so we can see both matter and spirit. So we can see Maya and we can see Krishna. So Maya, Maya is one of the choices that we have. We can choose Maya, we can choose Krishna. So we're not Maya. We can be in Maya. We can be either in Yogamaya or in Mahamaya. So this is under the protection of the material or the spiritual energy. All right, so we'll end up here. Thank you very much.
6:30.
Tomorrow evening.
Yes, tomorrow we will continue online 6:30 to 8.
Yes.
And I just want to give you little homework. Of course, just read ahead the chapter. We will try to finish the chapter. If not, we'll see how much we'll go through. But please especially give some attention to these 8 categories that Pandava Prabhu said. 4 categories that surrender to Krishna and 4 categories that never surrender. These are the verses 15 and 16. And please take little time to think, where are you? From these 8 categories, just see if you can identify with some of them, or maybe few of them, and then we can have little discussion.
Hopefully we identify with the good guys, not with the bad. Okay, thank you very much, dear devotees. Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Ki jai. Jai Gaur Nande.